Alright, so today we're going to go ahead and talk about the Telwynium, Book 2. So when I first played the first one, if you've already watched that commentary, if you haven't, you should probably do that first, so this one makes a little more sense. I was really surprised by how much I enjoyed the Telwynium. Not to think that it was going to be a bad game, but it's essentially made by one guy who does it for some kind of gaming convention, which I'm now forgetting the name of. It's like a VentureCon or something like that. So this guy pulls it together fairly quick, just as almost a demo. But it's not a demo because there is so much depth and story that goes into this that I was truly really surprised by the first one. So when I got into the second one, I was a little surprised to see, as you can see here, it starts with a guy. His wife is in labor. She's gonna have a baby, and as he's kind of sitting there, he's obviously nervous. His wife's having a baby. There is, I think they're called the Aldor, who is there, who is essentially kind of I think these are the spring, which is basically the life. And so they're there to basically bring the breath into the child. And so there it is. The Aldor Surya. And as they're doing this, this character who is the male is nervous and says, there has to be something I can do. And basically the Aldor says, yeah, okay, fine. If you want to help, because obviously she's in pain because she keeps screaming, you can do your craft and brew this thing real quick. And so you gather those components, and you have a little bit of a little, not puzzle, but a little simple quest, because everything obviously is within this one room, because you can't leave this room. So everything you need is here. So it's not very hard is what I'm trying to get at, because obviously you just have to kind of click around until you find all the components. And some of it's pretty obvious. I thought the spices would be on that shelf that's right in the middle of the screen at the far back, but it's not. It's actually a little bit to the left of it and stuff like that. But it's pretty easy to figure out this first part. And this is where she says, hey, she asks, do you have Fenroot? And then brew some Amber Spirit. And so that's what you have to brew. And as you're going through kind of brewing this stuff, spoiler alert for what's about to happen is, as you're collecting it and you're smashing stuff together, you don't want to touch it because it's really potent, so you have to get the cup and scoop it in with the cup. But then you have to light the fireplace, and right next to it you'll see some logs. And as you go to put the log in there, that's when you realize your beloved wife has not been screaming out in pain. So what's worse than her screaming out in pain is the silence. And when that silence comes, bad news happens. And at first, when I was playing this, I was like, okay, so we're playing a totally different character now? Where the first one left off was quite a bit of a cliffhanger. Again, you should watch that to see what I'm talking about, because one of the main characters, his best friend, gets killed, or his close friend, I would say, gets killed, but then something happens at the very end where you're like, oh, no way. So I expected this game to pick up from that. I was like, okay, that's an amazing cliffhanger. That's where we're picking up from. So when I launched this game, I was like, oh, this is really weird that we're just going with a totally different dude, disregarding what we've set up in the first game. But I am very wrong, because all this is doing is essentially foreshadowing some other stuff that happened because of the first game. And this is where you put the log on the oven and you say almost done, and then something pierces your thoughts. Not a sound from your devoted labor this time. Something worse. Silence. And then as the character goes to walk back, the Aldor says, Summer King walks. Her voice is weak, barely trembling whisper. Her face is covered too fast, and then her hands are covered in blood. Aldor Surya, speak. What is going on? What of Elia? What of the child? The well. The well was empty. The stillness. The stillness has returned. and then it fades out. And then we come to the characters that we know. So now we're back to Otar, which is, I thought, was a dwarf, but apparently it is like a minotaur. And then Pendar, who is the main character that you are controlling for the majority of the game. Not going to say for the full game, because a lot of things happen. And then, so essentially you're stuck at this river. You need to cross this river, but there seems to be no way to cross it. So you go and you take a rest, and essentially the main character is looking for Tanny, who is from the first game. She's abducted by, I think they're called the Shadowfell. And I guess I'll spoil a little bit of the first one if you hopefully watch that one first before you watch this one. At the end of the first one, our main character here, he learns to control the breath, which is something that should not be done. There should be no male Aldors who are left. Only females know how to summon the breath and control it and stuff like that. And not only does he learn how to control it, at the very end when he and his companions are trapped and left to die by the Shadowfell, he summons up all this breath, and in an effort to escape and use this magic, what he ends up doing is summoning an army of dead, and then the sheer power of it basically frees them all from the trap in the tree, and that's where the first one initially ends. So he has this army of undead. That's why there's a skeleton standing there. And it's interesting that all his friends are okay with it. I don't know in any given world where if my friend just suddenly commanded an army of dead, if I'd be like, oh, that's cool, let's go. But that's where the first game seems to end. But then it kind of does a fade out, does some credits, and then it does the cool little twist at the end, where, if you recall, right before he and his companions are trapped at the end of the first one, you learn that his best friend was involved. Like, he had basically sold them out to the Shadowfell. And when the Shadowfell are like, we'll leave him here to die, your best friend was like, no harm was supposed to come to them. That was part of the deal of our agreement. And they said, well, pray we don't alter it further, similar to like a Darth Vader thing. And he says, no, I'll fight you if you plan to harm them. And then they said, well, I guess we'll kill you too then. And then they carve his chest up. And he seems to die. But at the very end, you suddenly see his hand burst through the dirt, and he sits up and goes, I need a drink. So I thought that was pretty cool. And so now we have this forge that doesn't seem to be working all that great, and we'll learn more about this forge here in a moment. But just like every Sierra game, even though this is not a Sierra game, this is by the guy of Powerhoof. But it's obviously a love letter to things like Conquest of Camelot and stuff like that. Bears a very strong resemblance with the font, the logo font. And then the actual font that you see in here is actually the same font, the SCI, I guess I'll call it the SCI Sierra font. So it's clearly like a huge love letter to Sierra games. I talked about this in the first commentary. I do wish it's probably like really the only complaint I have about this game is that when you save, you only have one save slot in the game. So you always overwrite your save slot. And I get why they did that, because so far as I've been able to tell, because you're kind of locked in these screens until you kind of figure out the next area, it is actually impossible. Unlike Sierra games, it is actually impossible to actually dead end in this game. So there is technically only a need for a single save game, because no matter where you save, you'll be able to access whatever you need to move on to the next spot. The only reason I wish that they had multiple saves was for a selfish reason, because I think it was the third game I was playing where I loaded the game and I forgot to trigger the recording. And so I'd played all this stuff and I'd saved, and then I realized, oh, damn it, there's like no restore point that I can go to before like I started recording, well, even a little bit before, I'd already overwritten that save game. So what I ended up doing is starting the whole game all over again and recording. So it would have been, for my own selfish reasons, it would have been kind of cool to have an ability, at least like maybe 3 save games, so I could have like done different saves. But in this game, there's only one save location. When you hit save, it just saves. You don't get to have different save games. So anyway, you go back to the town, and in this town, you'll find your companions, including a skeleton who seems very different than all the rest. The other skeletons seem very quiet, just at your command kind of thing. This one seems to be quite personable and talkative and laughs a lot and makes jokes. So you have your Minotaur friend there at the far end, and then you have the skeleton. Then you have your 2-headed friend who I believe one of her heads is Drissa, and I forgot the name of the other head. Aliath, there it is. So Pendar here can talk to the cube, and you can basically, as you talk to him, you can learn a little bit more about the area, but also you can order a drink. It took me a while to figure out the first game, and there was a few spots where I also got stuck. I got stuck here in this town for quite a little bit, because eventually you figure out you need something, and in order to do that, Otar needs the forge below to be working, the forge that we were just at a moment ago. And in order to get the forge working, there's stuff you need to collect, and it doesn't look like there's a lot you can do. So one of the things you have to do here is order wine. So I thought, okay, don't order wine initially, because you don't want to get intoxicated or whatever, it's going to do something to you. So I had ordered water. And finally, as I was wandering around going in circles, I was like, okay, I'm just going to go through and order every drink and see if something different happens from it. And when you order the wine, they leave the bottle there and a corkscrew, which you need the corkscrew to get something else. I'm sorry if you hear anything. If you've listened to pretty much all my commentary, usually at some point I mention a Coke Zero. So hey, Coke, if you want to sponsor me, I've brought up your product several times. You may hear me from time to time drinking a Coke soda. I'll try to edit it out if it's too obvious. But obviously when I do commentaries, if I'm talking, hopefully ideally not nonstop, because that's a lot. But as I talk, obviously my throat gets dry and all that other stuff, so I usually have a Coke Zero sitting next to me to consume. I am also, excuse me, I am also curious how the audio on this will turn out. So I recently got a new computer for Father's Day. It's a nice flashy computer with like glowing lights and everything. My previous computer was pretty basic. It was a desktop that when my wife got it for me many years ago, I was like, hey, I never game on a PC except for like old Sierra games, so I don't need a video card really, like a good video card. All my gaming back then was always on the Xbox, for example. And so when she bought this computer, it had like a integrated video card. Was not great. But recently I've been playing a lot more modern games. So for example, the Tomb Raider Game of the Year edition and stuff like that. It would play on my other desktop, but I had to turn everything all the way down and it would still be choppy. Now on this new machine, I can turn everything all the way up and stuff like that. But what happened, for some reason, my Bluetooth that I used to use to record, like the headset mic, is horrible on the new computer. It does not do well, and I can't figure it out. I'm sure it's probably drivers that I've just not bothered looking into. So what I've been doing for the last couple of commentaries is using the Samsung Go, I think it's the Go 2 mic. And usually it's got like a clamp, and I usually just clamp it onto my desk and I would talk straight into it. But a lot of times when I was saying any words that were like a P or a T, I would spend a lot of time fixing the audio, because a lot of times like the P's would pop really loud or the T's would pop really loud, and so you have this huge sudden spike in the audio. And so I got tired of cleaning up the audio like that, and so what I did is a few years ago, I want to say the last episode we did was actually in 2020, 2021. Me and a former coworker named Micah, we used to do a podcast together. And for the podcast, I had bought, I call it a spit guard, because when I first got this, it's a pop guard. It's a thing that has a screen that kind of helps muffle the pop sounds. When I first got this pop guard, it was not for the podcast, but it was actually for when I used to do a web series called Never Ending Nights that I wrote and voiced and did all that stuff. So if you ever want to check that out, it's www.neverending and then nights as in nights.com. It was a machinima series that we did using Neverwinter Nights. It's 65 episodes. You can even find it on YouTube. I think it's youtube.com/ at Neverending Nights or whatever it is. I forgot how they do URLs, but it's Neverending Nights. If you search for Neverending Nights or Neverending Nights Machinima, you'll find it. Blah, 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 blah. Long story short, too late. I originally bought this because my character's name in that show was Peter. And so I used to call it a spit guard because every time someone said Peter, people were spitting on the mic. And so I bought this pop guard or whatever it's officially called, but I always called it a spit guard because it stops the spit from hitting the mic. But that mic that it uses is an old school, I don't even know what those jacks are called, but it's a really big jack. It's not a USB. It's a really big circular jack. And it went into a device that basically converted the audio into a nice format that then recorded into the machine or into the computer. So the Samsung Go mic is just this tiny little mic. And it's not the huge, like, official, big mics that you normally would see that people use. Because, again, it was an older jack that when we made that Machinima series, it was back in 2005, I think we started. So, old computer. Really, really old when we started doing that Machinima series. And anyway, so what I ended up doing is I was like, well, what I'm going to do is clamp the Samsung 2 mic to the mic stand that I have, which is, I have two. I have like the official, like the metal mic stand that you can extend, and I also have one that's for a desk. It's like a metallic thing that you can bend and you can just record while you're sitting at the desk. And I'd bought that, going back to when I was talking about the podcast, I'd bought this desk stand mic stand when we were doing the podcast because it was much easier to do the podcast back then that way. And I used to record on an old computer for that podcast because I'd bring it to conventions and stuff so we could record at conventions. So it was this old laptop. So what I did, long story short, again, way too late. This is what I mean about I rambled too much. I dug that out, clamped the Samsung Go 2 mic to it. And this is going to be the first commentary in which I have to do the audio cleanup, and I'm hoping that's going to be much, much, much easier because it has this pop guard, spit guard, whatever you want to officially call it. All right, so going back to the game and finishing my rambling, we've talked to Otar about fixing up the mine, and so that's what we're trying to do now. So we've gathered a few things. We've gotten the shovel. We've gotten some of the thing that you put into coal. We got coal. And we used the shovel to get some mud, which is like a clay. And it's very malleable. And a big clue is all these bones here. One of them we can get and use. But it is important to return all the bones here eventually. Because as we saw, he has the ability to summon up the dead, and it might be cool to have a huge beast at our command at some point. It's kind of nice today, random fact. I have the day off today. It's a fine, what is today, Thursday? And I have the day off, but it's not for fun stuff. My Corgi She has a huge, thankfully not cancerous, cyst on her chest. So she is going in for surgery today to get that removed. At first it was pretty small, and so we were just kind of dealing with it, but it's gotten bigger, and it's in an area where she can get to it. And so we've been putting like a dog sweater on her to prevent her from getting to it, but it's just gotten too big now, and like it's burst a few times, which has been kind of gross for her and for us, because then it's bled into the dog sweater. And we have like 2 or 3 dog sweaters that we've rotated to prevent her from being able to get to it. So now all the dog sweaters have like a huge blood stain on it, even though we've tried to wash it out, get these blood stains out. It doesn't come out. And then they start to stink after a while. Like even after, you wash it and put it back on her, it's bleeding in the same spot. So today she's going in for surgery. So that's what I did this morning about an hour ago. And now I have to wait until like 5:30 until they call me and tell me that she's ready for pickup, hopefully, and then hoping everything is fine. So if I don't seem super energetic, it's because it's still early in the morning for me. Haven't even had a full Coke Zero yet, again with the sponsorship of Coke Zero if you're listening. And I'm also, my mind is a little preoccupied because I'm thinking about her, stuff like that. And that it's, again, that to remove that cyst is a lot of money. And if you watched my other videos, the whole reason I originally was questing, if you will, to get to 1,000 subscribers was to be able to monetize this channel. I don't expect to get a lot of money, obviously, from monetizing the channel, but like every little thing counts, because like I even gather like cans that I drink from Coke Zero. I recycle that too, so like I'll wait until I get like 12 bags of cans and go recycle it, because my wife back in 2020 had a medical issue not related to COVID that has been a huge impact, because she used to be the moneymaker in the family and now she can no longer work. So now it's just my income, and living in California, it is not cheap. So I've been trying to monetize everywhere I can to scrape up pennies and stuff like that. So this surgery is going to cost a lot. But that's why my mind is a little preoccupied. Try to remain positive, though. Let's remain positive. All right. So, I just ordered the wine, I think a moment ago, inside the tavern, and you can see I've picked up the corkscrew that I mentioned previously. And I wasn't thinking this through in time fast enough, because corkscrew and then the barrel has a cork in the side. So, there's obviously something to do with the barrel. And now we have a small wheel. I think we already got the hammer. I wasn't paying attention because I think the thing next to the wheel in the inventory is the hammer that is in the barrel. So now that we have a wheel, this thing over here on the far right talks about there needs to be a wheel there. And when we go, not there, but pretty much right below it, it fits. So we're making progress, and there's obviously something right inside next to where the coal is that we need to probably also grab. We're still missing a lot of things here. Like, you can tell that I want to say the pump in the upper right, the red thing next to the wheel, is not moving, which it should be, because that's what's going to pump oxygen and keep things heated. So we still need to find out how to fix that. And also the wheels aren't turning, so we need something for the wheels to put on the wheels so that they actually continue to turn. And so the lever that we're using is actually a bone that we picked up. And see, by being able to take off that wheel, it made me question, like, is that the right thing? But I mean, clearly it is, because it looks just like it and it says it fits. But the fact that you can remove it made me think, oh, wait, maybe there's more we need to do with it. So there we go. Now we've picked up the tongs. That's what they're called, the bellows. You can tell desperation has set in for me because I am clicking on everything randomly, just trying random stuff at this point. Keep in mind that that clay is malleable because we'll need that later, and what we need it later for also took me a while to piece together that this is what we should be using it for. Again, desperation is clearly setting in because I am just clicking random stuff on random things, hoping to do something. So clearly there is something to do with the feast day witch thing you need to do. We still have to repair the forge before he'll start working on the axes. And something to do in this game is show inventory items to your companions, because they may either say, hey, I can do something with that, or they may provide you additional information. That was really an important thing in the first one. The first one, they really pushed that you should be showing your inventory items to some of your companions, because they may be able to say, hey, I can do something with that, or hey, I know what that is, or it may just say, hey, here's some additional information on what you're looking for or what you're doing with this item. You know, this item was used for ABC, and you're like, oh, that gives me a clue as to what to do. So you use the saw that you got to get the wooden pieces. So you carry 2 wooden things bound by a cord. I do love that you can command the skeletons to do stuff. It looks like he'd be able to do it because he has this long spear, but all he does is poke holes in the effigy. So this one is pretty wild, that you basically use the sticks with the cord, tie it to the tongs, which makes it long enough for you to basically grab the wooden frame, and you can grab its cloak, which you then put on. And now with a cloak, if you recall, if you go up those stairs, it says it's too cold. So now we can actually go up those stairs. And upon reaching the top, who should be here but Gildar, who is the skeleton with the personality, I'll say. And he says it must be here somewhere. And then, what are you doing up here? And he's like, oh, you know, there used to be a city up here. The statue stood above it. A monument. So clearly, your buddy here, Gildar, I believe is how it's pronounced, he's up to something. Because he's looking for something very different than all the rest of the skeletons. So the thing in the statue's hand has these grooves, but there's not much you can do with it. So using the same trick, we can grab the flag. So now we have a flag. Now, if you haven't figured out what the flag is for, we can probably head back to the forge and get that forge working. So what we need is something to connect the two wheels together to begin spinning. And there's obviously something here to be found, because Gildar alludes to it. It's just a matter of trying to find it, and it's clearly not the flag. He's looking for something else. So when we go in the tavern, we can see that Gildar is now missing. You can talk to your good friend to say, hey, I found this weird thing. He says, I can make you a key if I had the shape of the mechanism to cast it from. So keep in mind, remember that clay is very malleable. I do wish there was some dialogue here, since Gildar has left, that you could ask them, hey, where's Gildar? And they could give some kind of clue that, hey, he's been acting very strange lately, or something like that, just to kind of help allude that there is definitely more to Gildar than what we are seeing. That empty skull of his has some ideas. It's so funny, since I've beaten the game and I'm doing commentary post-game, to me, as I'm watching myself play, I'm literally smacking myself, going, use the freaking flag. And now we can see that there is a breath by the thing. But we have no way to channel it yet. We'll need something to be able to channel it. So this time we hurl a lump at the nest, it falls on the grass, or it falls, and we pick it up. And there is an iron needle. Yeah, so the ruined staff is not able to be used to summon the breath. So we definitely need something else. And now he's talking about the life stone that used to be here. He says that thieves have probably taken it, but clearly it's probably what he might be after, is this life stone. And if you look at him, Gildar seems less cheerful, so you can tell something's going on. Something's definitely going on with Gildar. So we put the fishing hook on the anvil and belt it, and we have a flat needle. So now we have two sharp needles. So when you show her one of the needles, she says, yeah, I could use it for picking locks, but I would need two. So I did the fish hook thing before I even needed to know that I need to do it. And now she has them both and says, well, I should be able to open a simple lock. But we don't even have a simple lock yet to open, so it's not clear what she's going to use this for. Ooh, I just thought of something. If you don't give her... Oh no. Yeah, you still can't dead end. Never mind. I was thinking I just thought of a place where you can dead end, but I just realized you can't. Because I think in order to get to where I'm thinking of, you still have to give her the pins before you go in. So I think I just gave her the pins early. So we still need to make a shape of this. So we still need to fix the forge. And we have what it takes to fix the forge. But as I'm playing this, I've just not realized what I need to fix the forge. But it is in my inventory. And there's where, since I could take the wheel off, I was thinking I need to fix it or do something more with it. And then tying the two ends of the flag, you loop it around, and lo and behold, the bellows is going, the furnace is hot, everything is working. So now we can go tell our good buddy Otar that the furnace is now going. And we should finally be able to make a little more progress. So Otar drinks his last drink for now and leaves the tavern. So let's go check on Otar. He needs his hammer in order to do anything. Now he says, now that he has the hammer, he'll be able to do some more with it. But we still need to use the malleable clay, so that's our next move. Now, I will say, obviously in an effort to reach as many people as I can to check out my channel, one of the things I did was post on Reddit. So I had posted a link to the first game on Reddit. And someone said, yeah, I kind of skimmed through your video. It looks really repetitive because you're kind of stuck between a few areas. This is in regards to the first one. And I replied to him and said, hey, listen, it is true that you are pretty much limited to just a couple of screens. It's literally like, I don't know, like maybe 15 different screens. Probably actually more than that. But I explained that you can have something that is only a few screens and still have something that is pretty incredible. And that's what they've done with this game. I talked about it in the first one, but it feels like there's so much lore and thought that went into this game. Like, they could have just called it, wizards. So, the priestess at the beginning of this one could have just been a priestess, but, they gave her the title of an Aldor, and you find out that, there are Aldors based on the seasons. So winter, spring, summer, etc. And obviously when they say the Summer King has walked again, that's something big, that means something. Versus, the baby didn't happen or whatever. So while the game, each one of them is relatively short, if you know what you're doing, which, obviously here you see me wandering around quite a bit trying to figure out what to do. Even though I'm right on the thing and I know that freaking clay is malleable because I've seen it say that a couple of times. Even though it's not, it's not like 100 screens like you might find in a King's Quest 1. The idea is all these games, as I said, were made for like some kind of gaming convention that I can't remember the name of. I want to say it's like Adventure something, Adventure Pass or something. And if you put the 3 games together, and there's still a 4th one to come out, you are playing something that is just like any other Sierra game. It's got a bunch of stuff. It's an ongoing, continued story through the whole thing. Not like how King's Quest 1 leads to King's Quest 2, but rather each of these games is picking up literally right after where the previous game left off of. This one starts with, again, like I said in the beginning, I thought it was weird that we started off with this weird thing, but it's alluding to something, and then we eventually get to where our hero is from the first game. So it is a game that is something that I already said it a bunch of times, but it surprised me how well I thought the game was, because it's not just about puzzles. Obviously, that is the idea of an adventure game, but anyone can put together an adventure game that doesn't have much thought to it and just put in random puzzles that you need to put together. But this one really feels like it has a story and it has lore. Like there is a world here that exists that was well thought out of. It wasn't just, oh, there's an evil wizard that you have to escape or you have to fight or anything like that. It's definitely a lot of plot twists and turns also. Because I said it in the first one, I'll say it again. This game, as you play it, nothing is ever really what it seems to be. For example, the I already forgot his name, Glandor, whatever. The talkative skeleton, the one who's different than all the rest, who is traveling with the party. There's clearly something up with him and what he's up to, and how when you see him up by the statue, he doesn't look as jovial and happy as he used to. I swear, in watching this and seeing that I'm using the clay here at the furnace before I've tried to use it to shape anything, it's so funny, like in hindsight sometimes when you watch a game that you've played and you're like, how did you not already figure out what to do? Like, in hindsight, this all made sense. We should have figured this out way sooner than we have. And so you can see that I took the bone fragment back. And so the fact that you can take the bone fragment back, like I said, it'll be important later. I was hoping that maybe the bone fragment could be used to turn the lever, but that is not the case. And then at long last, I finally figure out, use the clay to make an impression. And Gildar, that's his name. And after you push the clay in and you make the impression, notice Gildar is gone. So he's aware of your plan, and he's like, yeah, no, that's a good idea. And then suddenly the Shadowfell appear after you make that impression. They say, don't move. They come out of nowhere. What are you doing following us here? After the life stone? I just want Tanny back. Where is she? Maybe you're the one we want. Maybe we'll take you too. Sudden movement and something. Wham! One of the Shadowfell falls. Wham! Another one. And Drissa shows up. And so now you've captured one of the Shadowfell. And Otar's like, what are you doing here? And the Shadowfell says, please, you must let me go. We can make it talk easy enough. You can slit its throat. That's what we'll do. Can't trust that Shadowfell. And again, you see the banter between Otar and Alethea because of the race that Alethea is. So they're trying to figure out what to do with the Shadowfell that Drissa has captured because she pummeled it over the head. So now you're alone with the Shadowfell. It says it almost looks pathetic tied up. So when you ask about Tanny, it says she's a human girl, and you say yes. She says she came with us. And you say, no, you burned out our village, chased us out, killed my friend, and took her. And he says, we thought she was one, but she is not. And you shout, where have you taken her? She's come with me. Where? To find the Summer King. So again, now we're seeing the Summer King again, which was what was mentioned at the beginning. So it says you need to cool off because you're getting angry before you can ask it any other questions. And so you tell the skeleton to keep an eye on the prisoner. And rest assured, the story is about to get twisted. And when you come out, the Shadowfell's dead. So clearly your skeleton did not do a really good job. So you're saying it escaped, but you quickly discover, no, he hasn't escaped. He's been killed. The bonds are intact. This ashy stuff, that's what's left of the slain Shadowfell. And you are demanding who did this. And so there's concern because that was your only lead into finding Tanny. And so with nothing else to say, the others go about their business. So now she's up there, standing on the thing. Otar, we need to go probably find. And so we find a scroll with a lock. So this is where I was thinking that if you did not get the pins, but again, you don't leave this area until you've already gotten the pins. So knowing that she can pick a lock, we can give her the scroll and say, hey, can you try to pick this? And sure enough, she picks it. And the scroll reads, from the Anvil Rock toward Weeping Hill, upon reaching earthen rent, stand still, face Lake Vangoth, and march until you're halfway to the water still. And this took me a while, because what you have to do is go up to the top of the statue. Because it feels like, okay, now we can travel somewhere, but still nothing. And Gildar is here looking at the river, so he's no longer at the top statue. And now we can see Breath by the water. But still, we have no way to summon it to us. And when we look at it, it disappears. And so there's the clay. Keep in mind, before all the weird Shadowfell stuff, we got an impression of that clay. And so he says he can make a casting from it. So he needs metal now. And we already have what we need. It's just you'll see that I struggle with trying to find what it is. So now that we've seen mention of the Summer King, we can talk to the others. And he was the old ruler before the Cycle War. He was the last of the Summer Altors, which is the males. it's good to note that the beast on the wall has been on that wall. Not the beast, but the skull of that massive beast has been on that wall the whole time. Because that might come into play. As I said, it'd be great to collect all the bones of that beast and be able to do something with that and have it as a part of our army. And so when you mentioned it to Gildar, he's like, heard of him. I fought him with the armies he raised. And he says he was a great man. But he says that line died out. The Summer Aldors died with it. Everyone knows that. And then he does say, you know what? You remind me of him in some way. And speaking of the Summer King. But it's to note that he does mention that they were all killed out and that there are none left, except for our main character here. Clearly, this is a part where I'm feeling a little bit lost, even though I have all the things that I need. I'm just clicking random stuff to see if they talk to any of that stuff. Because if you remember earlier, I was talking about how it is good sometimes to show your inventory items to your party. So he says, yep, I can do something with it if I had metal. But the metal I currently have around here is too crude. So a corkscrew has metal, but obviously that's not going to be enough metal to do what he needs. Half the golden rod. So, hand that to him. And he says, yeah, I don't see why not. Let's make something. We're just going to leave, turn around, come right back, and see if he manages to make something for us in like a matter of seconds. Hey, did you manage to cast anything? Sure did, boy. Otar passes a heavy golden object and shrugs. If you find out what it does, let me know. So we have this T-shaped object now. I am telling you, the puzzles are so well thought out. Some of them are silly, like the corkscrew for the barrel to find the hammer. But stuff like this, and like what they do graphically with the game is so well done. So you can see, once you put that T-shape in there, what's happened is a sword has come out. The sword sings to you. And so you go, you grip the hilt of the sword, power courses through you, the same power you felt in the Aldor staff, only stronger. That's such a cool picture. And so once again, we can feel the breath. We have an ability to channel it. So things are happening finally. Things are going well for us. So you can feel the breath from a stone. And tiny whispers of it float in the air. And so once again, by clicking on the breath with your weapon, you can now channel it through you. And you can talk to her and say, I found a magic sword. What do you think? You carry it well for a sheep herder. And then she offers to give you lessons. And it's interesting because one head seems to like want to trash talk our main guy, and the other one seems attracted to him. So when you show him, he says, "Oh, you're starting to look like a real Aldor. Look at you." And he talks about how you need tuning to do something with the altar. And he says, "You're more powerful than you think, Pendar." And then so you ask him, "How do I use the sword?" And he says, "You won't just hold it above your head." So clicking the sword on the river summons out breath that you can now channel. And so the breath, we know it comes from the elements as well. So it comes from water, air. We've already gotten air up by the statue. We've just gotten water. And so there's probably fire, and we know where there's a fire. It's over there at the furnace. And as you go to click it, now it doesn't say that it's too big. It says perhaps there are other bones. And so using the sword on the furnace, we can draw its breath as well. You sense a longing from the bones when you try to use it. It's still missing. And this is where I was stuck for a little while, because it seems like I can't move anywhere. I've done pretty much everything I think I need to do. And so this part was a little tricky, where the clue is in the scroll that we just looked at about how to move and travel. So from the very top of the statue, you can click, once you have the things you need, you can click on the map down there, and it starts telling you, oh yeah, that looks exactly like what you need to. So that took a while for me to figure out. I kept moving back and forth and thinking I need to somehow do the creature thing here. So from up here, you can, to the right of the hand, you can see like that lake and like little dirt and some mounds. You can click on those, and that'll actually give you information about that area. All right, so you can see. Let me mute my phone real quick. You can see the areas down there. But the issue I had, like I said, was trying to find my way how to get down there. It was not painfully obvious. And so, just like other games, I almost called it Echo Quest. In Eco Quest, I often complain that sometimes the path is very, very hard to see. So you can see, like, down, like as I click over there, you can see that, oh, there's Lake Logoth. So you can see the different areas down there that the scroll that we found alludes to. So somehow we need to find our way there, but the waterway is still blocked. So I kept clicking off screen, like what I'm doing right there, down, and you see me circling the mouse around the map right there. Like, how do I get down there? Like, everything is still blocked off, but clearly I need to somehow find my way there. And so you show the scroll to Gildar, and he's like, yeah, that's cool. I do like how the other people in the group, as you walk, their body or their head will move to watch you. I thought that was a nice, cool touch. It makes it feel like more alive. It's not just characters who are standing there statically, like how he just turned his head to watch you pass him. It's a nice little touch. I like that a lot. Super minor, like it's such a minor. It's like he turned his head again, like such a minor detail, but it truly, and he turns, truly makes it feel like, you know, when you're walking on screen, the other things around you are noticing. All right, so we put that bone back in there. And now if we put our sword to it, oh, so close, but, you know, we still need some bones, apparently. We might as well leave the bone there, because now that the furnace is working, there's no need to go put the bone back in the control to turn on the furnace. And earlier I was talking, just real quick, I was talking about my Corgi was having surgery just a few moments ago. Maybe noticeable that I may have repeated something. It's because I actually paused to go pick her up. She's doing well. The gash on her chest where they removed the cyst is massive, and it's all stitched, but it is bleeding because it is right above like where her arm is. So there, anytime she extends, there's potential for some stitches to slightly open. So, but I'm glad she's home. So that's the plus side. In case anyone was curious about the update on my Corgi, she is home and she is super sedated. So they removed the cyst and they're gonna basically send it in. Hopefully it's not like cancerous. So, because we spent, it ended up costing $2,319 to remove that cyst today, which was that was hard because we also, in charging that, obviously the bank was like, hey, this looks like a fraudulent charge. So as we're trying to pay for it, the bank blocked it thinking it was a fraudulent charge, even though we've paid for stuff at that vet plenty of times, but I suppose not $2,300 worth. So then we had to get on the phone with them and try to clear that up, and then we discovered there was another fraudulent charge and that they were going to suspend the card, and then we're like, don't suspend it, we have to pay for this now. So there was a lot of drama at the vet, but we got it paid for. She's home, and other than being really, really bloody and super out of it, she's doing good. So clearly no one, like, in talking to everyone, there's no way to talk to anyone that says, oh, I know a way. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on the map up here and see if one of these landmarks is how we basically travel away from here. Which is weird because I was pretty focused on that river. Like somehow we need to cross the river. But I'm slowly clicking on all the little like landmarks that you can see out here. And a lot of it is just like, oh, you have this impressive view out here. And so there's an area that the Shadowfell must have mentioned, so that's of note. So if it got up here, there must be a way to get down there, essentially. And right under the hand, it does look like it is a path right there. But like as far as I could tell, there was not like an easy way to get there. Like whenever I clicked down there, he would walk back up to the hand. And lo and behold, the way down there is not up from the map, but behind the frickin' building. So once again, it is one of those things, and I don't even know if I could have got here before now. Like, does this open up only really after you've done all that you need to do? I actually don't know. I was just literally clicking around to see if I could walk somewhere different. And sure enough, he walked behind the building where now we see these runes. And one of them basically looks like it has some kind of creature thing. And there's more engravings, and it is a steep way down. So it's not very clear if you can just make your way down there. And old Gildar, he knows about stone carvings, apparently. And it sounds like a megalith. They were used in battle. And maybe I should collect these bones and put them together. So already, we kind of already knew that. We were already alluding to the fact that we have to do something with these bones. But now that we know that there's something down there by clicking on those runes, now maybe we can go talk to the tavern keeper and see if he's willing to part with that skull that he has so that we can finally complete the creature skeleton. And he says, would I be able to take that skull? Well, I guess so for a price. I'll let Drissa negotiate with you. So you take all the skeletons and take it. So now it's no longer there. So now we have the skull. So at least we know we can't get the skull until that's done. And now we can see it. It's in the nest. And now we can summon up the thing. And though the blade senses a longing from the bones, so we're still missing something. So that stumped me, clearly. Since I'm not moving, I end up saving the game. I'm like, what? I thought I had it. I thought that was finally it. But that is clearly not it. We're still missing something to summon this creature. So the best thing to do is head down that path, which is hard to get to apparently. Go down and see if there is something down there. You slide down the slope. Up ahead we see a strange cave. Can't go backwards, making sure, so we go forward. Crushing from things, something appears. So it's another golem thing, and this one is massive. But you wonder what it's guarding. You wonder, is it Decoy or is Tanny the person you're looking for? Is she over there? I do love that when you slingshot it. It's like it's made of stone. It doesn't care about getting hit by stone. So now that you're sharing information, they're like, okay, well that's it. They have an Aldor at their hands, someone that has summoned that monstrosity to basically guard it. So now we need to find out how we can get in there and help out. Spoiler alert, we do find a way to do it. Just takes me a lot of wandering around to figure it out. And he seems really excited about the fact that you found the Shadowfell and that cave. Is it super obvious that I'm alluding to something is far more up with him than what it appears? You even get that vibe in the game. Like I said, he seems less cheerful and less jovial, and far more serious suddenly. Still not enough. So, the bones were there all along. What we needed to do was have the skeleton, who ends up going in the water and perishing for it. He puts the tusks in there. You concentrate, feeling the bones beneath the mud, picturing the beast whole. The breath held within your blade whirls like a maelstrom. You urge it outward, and the flashing. The ground heaves and bucks beneath your feet as a gigantic bones pull together. Such a cool effect. Again, they do, for an indie game, they do so much incredible stuff with this. Like, that thing looks amazing. Gildar rounds up your companions. Stillness, take me. What is that? It's a Malith. It's impressive. I think it'll cope with the golem. What's the plan? Same as always, we get Tanny out of this. Gildar, command the skeletons. Let nothing stand in our way. You mount the Malith, and in response to the unspoken command, it moves forward. The path to the ravine is narrow, snarled with fallen logs and brambles, but the beast pushes through. Behind you, your army marches silently, Otar and the Ramiri. You reach the hidden ravine, where the colossal goal awaits. From your throat comes your best attempt to yell a command, and you plunge down into the fray. That's a pretty cool picture. That one reminds me sort of a Quest for Glory kind of look, especially from Quest for Glory 3, where he's holding up the sword. Despite its size, Malith moves like a cat, charging the golem, leaping back as a boulder-sized limb crashes down. Gripping your mount's horns, leaning into the movements, you shout down to your enemy. Inside now, find Tanny, stop, and nothing. Your skeletons push their way through, around the tree trunk legs of the golem, grappled by your Malith. The two titans circle each other. With the sword in your hand, commanding the Malith feels like an extension of you. You faint moo. Leap over them, Maedric. The golem gives a final shudder, and the death rattle like an avalanche. You leap down from your mount and leave it to shrug its lifeless stone as mud blah 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 blah. Didn't get to finish. All right, a new area. Village Eldor. No! Village Eldor, no, please. They're only children. So, this... Remember where I said the story starts... Nothing is ever what it appears to be, and the story is about to take a twist. As you watch, the skeletons that you command are literally killing people, like left and right. And you try to make them stop. My skeletons order you to stop. Your stomach twists. Throatful bile struggle to make yourself stop. Stand down, do you hear me? Stop this. You are released. At the words, the skull arm returned towards on you. They simply drop, crumbling into dust. Drissa barks command, and you numbly move to aid the surviving townspeople. We've done all we can for them now. How many live? Not enough, Pen. So the skeletons did exactly as commanded. They marched in and did not stop at anyone trying to stop them. And as you are speaking with the village Aldor, she explains they weren't hiding from the Shadowfell. And then you say, what do you mean? Does it matter anymore? I failed. I failed to protect them. And then the obvious question, you're an Aldor? Autumn Aldor. She tells you her name. You're from the Knight's Bridge? Yes, I am their Aldor. I was. I first came to the Knight's Bridge in order to study the ruins. The townspeople came to depend on me. I stayed to protect them. I failed. So it was you who summoned the golem. It was I. Glokar was her name. Gluknar. However you pronounce that. She and I have protected the Lifestone since Aldor Lyn gave back her breath. What is this place? A lot lost in time, but from what I can learn, it was once a thriving city. It was the home to the buried university where the Winter Eldors trained. Back then it was a bright day, but it fell to dark. The final resting place of the Winter Eldors. You were hiding from the Shadowfell. No, not from them. It was not the Shadowfell we're afraid of. It is that the Summer King lives, and he is coming. That's who we're hiding from. But the Shadowfell burned my village. They took Tani with them. They're the enemy. Are they? The girl was with them. She's unharmed, and she can look after herself. I would have intervened. The Shadowfell have their own prophecies about their creator. They seek to stop the return of the Summer King. It was only thanks to them that we were able to retrieve the Lifestone. So now you've learned that the Shadowfell helped with the Lifestone. So what is the Lifestone? A large crystal said to be the keystone of the ancient Eldor strength. It used to sit atop the peak. Prophecies tell of the Summer King's return to the peak. She looks up, her eyes piercing. Of the destruction that would result in wielding such power. These prophecies, the Summer King, it's all wrong. Even if I am the Summer King, you have nothing more to fear from me. Keep your bloody Lifestone. This was all just a mistake, a horrible mistake. And she laughs and says, You? You think you are the Summer King? Well, isn't that... The Summer King is dead. You have some winter blood in you. Enough to cause trouble, as we have seen. But you're no Summer King. If he's dead, do you know what the arts of the winter? Raising skeletons, I assume. Well, the Winter Elders weren't destroyed. They took a vow never to raise another body, lest they bring him back. Bring him back? The Summer King? The last Summer King. Did he have a name? Of course. And we can guess what his last name is. Gildar Solaire, which is the same guy that we accidentally raised. Our bad. Oh, that's not good, says Otar. Where is he? Where is the life stone? You can see this. This is what I mean by this game takes like such a twist. Like you kind of see it coming, as I was alluding to, because you see his disposition changing. And you go and you find Gildar, and it's still we're not even done with the twist yet. We have one more like oh damn moment coming up. So you find Gildar, and dear oh dear, you haven't aged well. And he's talking to the body on the chair. Allow me to introduce you to Grand Haguman of the Winter Aldors. In his time, he might have... Ooh, went too fast. And so anyway, Gildar takes the life stone, but he makes a very poor guardian, because he's dead. And he holds it above his head. And Pendar says, stop kidding around. Let's just put an end to this. I don't think you realize, Pendar, how long I've waited for this, is what Gildar says. And he puts it on his head and glows all crazy, starts to float like some apocalyptic villain. And still, we've not hit that last oh damn moment. And now bow before your Summer King. And obviously we're not going to bow to some guy. We're going to go try to stab him. And you draw your blade. Gildar. Pen, let's talk about this. But no. Stop this now, Gildar. I command you. I'm not like those other corpses. They didn't have a conduit of the well. That's what those lesser Aldors never realized. Their armies would have been conquered, but I can never truly die. Unlike you, Pendar. And he slashes that thing, and then there goes your arm. Your arm is literally cut off. So, again, such a cool twist. Like, you do not expect your hero to have his arm severed. And your heart beats like a drum. Each beating of your heart is basically spouting out more of your lifeblood. Rocks fall down and crush and trap you inside. So things look pretty bad for our hero as he collapses. The tomb of the Winter Aldor is sealed once again. Behind you, the Summer King floats out to greet the new dawn. So, unintentionally, we raise the guy who would become the Summer King, and that is where the game ends, with you, your arm severed. Dave Lloyd, doubt if you're watching this, but it's such an amazing game. You, without realizing it, in your anger and your haste to save Tani, have raised the Summer King, basically helped him get to the Life Stone, helped him get that power, and now he's just out there to do all this evil. And so that is where the second one ends. So if you watch the first one, I'm going to spoil it for you if you haven't watched it. At the very end of the first one, your best friend gets killed. And you see him get killed. And I made a mistake in saying that it happened at the end of the first one, but it's at the end of the second one, because we're about to see it right now. So your best friend, who died, you wake up to a mouthful of dirt. You see the dirt sifting around. And then in a cool moment, you see a hand raise up, and then your best friend, Will, sits up, looks around, and says, Wit, says, I need a drink. Again, so well done. The game does so well at telling a great story, having these incredible moments for as short as these games are, because they all do tie together to make one game. There's a fourth one that's not yet been released. I am eager to play that game because I've already beat the third one. So even though this is book 2, I've already beat the third one. Again, if you've not played these games yet, highly recommended. They're all free. I'm pretty sure if I remember, the description is in, or the link to download them is in the description of this YouTube video. Strongly recommend go checking them out. They are absolutely great. If you love Sierra games, you're definitely going to love these games. Anyway, All right, we're almost at the end, actually. So I just wanted to thank you all for hanging out with me, listening to me talk about the game, talking about my dog, talking about life. I appreciate all of you sincerely. I don't always get a lot of comments in my videos, but I always take the time to respond to them fairly quickly. I love you all. Thank you, and I hope everyone does well in life. Bye.